Hey there, what do you hear? What do you say? I had like another video planned, but I um I recently found out that Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, has died. Um, and I don't know how to feel about that, to be honest. I remember watching Dragon Ball Z. I was a kid, like on cartoon. I can't remember. Yeah, actually no, I remember the saga. It was the Frieza saga. They were on Planet Namek, and I remember really enjoying watching it. I remember the thrills, the highs. I remember seeing Super Saiyan for the first time, and I'm just one of many, many, many people influenced by Toriyama's work. It's kind of incredible to think about, but Akira Toriyama, he woke up one day and he didn't consciously decide to do it. He picked up a pen and pencil and he would go on to create arguably like the most influential media of the 20th century. Like definitely like top five, almost indisputable, right? Um, it's it's especially when it comes to influence, especially right. Naruto, like Bleach, One Piece, all of them have similarities with Dragon Ball, right? And those series in turn influenced other mangaka, right? Naruto and Bleach, right? Those were huge inspirations for JJK, right? Black Clover, that was hugely inspired by Naruto, right? It's it's kind of it's almost impossible to calculate how much influence this one man had on generations of people, right? Um, and it really just goes to show like how incredible one human being can really be, right? Um, I've had my issues with Dragon Ball as a series, right? Don't get me wrong, but for all that, I still think that the peak of Dragon Ball is probably the most entertaining and the most like well thought out, well written piece of fiction I've seen, right? And the incredible thing is that I remember there being interviews of Akira Toriyama, and I think he said something to the effect of like he was just making it up as he went along, right? Like initially, like I think the idea of like for Android 17 and 18, if I remember correctly, he literally like just his editor came in one day and he was like, well, I don't really like the current character designs. I want something different, and we got like great characters as a result of that, right? It's kind of incredible to think about it, right? It's the same sort of thing with Oda, right? Apparently, like the worst generation was something he just made up, and look where it ended up, right? Like it's mind-boggling to think about. Um, right now on the screen is a clear transition from Goku going from base to Super Saiyan, right? And this is probably something that almost everyone has heard of, right? It's talked about in rap lyrics. It's talked about in every kind of media that you can think of. The idea of going Super Saiyan, the amount of memes about this is just incredible. It's obscene to think about how much of an ecosystem this one man has made, right? Because you'll think about it for a second and then you'll think, okay, well, he made the original series, right? But that's not including like any of the movies and stuff like that that came about as a result of that. I think this is like over like 15, if I remember correctly, right? How many games has been played as a result of that? How many like careers have been as a result of this one man, right? Because the thing is that like there's like a whole sections of YouTube and online spaces that are just dedicated to just talking about Dragon Ball Z. Like that's all they talk about day in day out, right? Like, I mean, you could probably make a case that like power scaling in anime really only started with like Dragon Ball. Really, it wasn't really prevalent before that, but it's just this man has done so much for so many people that it's it's incredible to think that he's gone, that he's no longer around, and it's a shame because apparently even though he was 60 plus, right, he wasn't retired, he didn't throw in the towel, he didn't decide to quit, right, he decided to keep going at it, you know, to keep on trying, to keep on giving it his all, right? He was still working on projects, right? Most of us, we like struggle to get out of mourning, right? We come up with like 1,001 excuses as to why we can't do anything, right? We procrastinate the entire day. We don't do anything. We don't amount to anything. We literally are just content with just like the bare minimum. And here you have Akira Toriyama, right? Not content with creating one of the most influential pieces of art that's ever existed, right? He's still pushing. He's still grinding. And uh, I don't know what to say. I really don't. I really don't. To be honest, I think I don't know. I never know how I feel about these sort of situations. I remember when Kentaro Miura died, I was really, I was hot. I was wrenched, to be honest. It really, 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 it was a crying shame. And Berserk was something else, you know? It was just a piece of literary brilliance, you know. It's like it should be up there with like Homer and the Odyssey and that sort of thing. And to be honest, I think Dragon Ball should be as well. I think especially when it comes to like what it's done for like the broader culture as a whole, what it's done for anime, the honestly like some of like there's this idea that like anime is an art, and it's actually shockingly common and prevalent in some parts of like the internet, right? Like it's probably like from the same people who say like anime is for kids, right? And it just shows like a complete lack of familiarity with like, you know, the entire, you know, medium, right? They don't respect it, and I think it's just an outrage, to be honest. I think that like Akira Toriyama, he's he's up, he's like he has every right to call himself like an artist. He has every right to call himself brilliant. He has every right to call himself a genius because he was, right? He was, and it's it's a crying shame to think that he's gone. But I think what we should do, or what I'm going to try to do at least, right, is try to draw a lesson from this, right? All he needed to change the world was a pen and paper. That's it. A pen, paper, somewhere to publish it, and boom. He fundamentally changed the landscape of an entire medium, of an entire generation and thereafter. That's all anyone needs, right? All you need is the right idea and the right execution. That's it. Ideas come to everyone, right? But the execution, that's where people sort of fall off, right? So that's what I'm gonna try to do. I've had like so many ideas like bottled up in my head for the longest time, right? And I always think to myself, well, you know, I'll get them out one day. You know, I'll change the world one day. I'll, you know, do things differently one day. But just be honest with yourself, right? That day isn't coming, right? You're not the main character. You're not Goku, right? Like things aren't going to come to you, right? You're not the center of the world, right? It's the thing that you've been thinking and agonizing over for the past 5 years, the thing that you think is going to fundamentally like alter like the course of human history, it isn't even going to be a blip, right? I remember there have been incidents in my life where I think that like, you know, it's it. This is it. This is time. This is it now. This is it now, right? But everything is falling apart, right? But it isn't, right? You can always get back up. You can always try harder. You can always pick up the pieces, right? And I think that's probably like the best lesson that like DBZ teaches us, right? You've got to try. You've got to try. You can't just give up. You can't just like you can't just let everyone think like that you're nothing, right? That you're not going to, you know, that you're not capable of being someone better than you are, right? It's you can. Anyone can. Anyone can be better than who they are right now currently. If they just try. If they just give it a shot, right? That's it, right? That's I'm sorry. I just it's in, I'm just like in awe, to be honest, right? Like I've just been thinking like these past couple of days about like the series as a whole, and the amount of like iconic moments in that series is just incredible, right? Um, honestly, and I just don't know what to say, to be honest. I sort of think like for the past 5 weeks, like I thought about going with like a script and stuff like that, but to be honest, I just don't have it in me, to be honest. Like I've crunched up a couple papers, I just threw them in the bin because I just want it to be from the heart, you know. I just want. And this is how I feel as like a fan, right? I this is how I feel about just watching his stuff, right? I can't even begin to imagine what his family's going through, what his friends are going through, right? But I think that generally speaking, I was speaking to a friend about it with him, like this situation, and he said that like if there is a meaning to life, then it has to be about legacy, right? Leaving something behind for like future generations. And Akira Toriyama, he if that is the meaning of life, then he fulfilled it with flying colors, right? He's probably exceeded it damn near more than like anyone else, really. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely probably like one of the most positive influences in my life, right? I'm really glad I watched Dragon Ball, and I'm really sad to see him go. Yeah, so that's me signing off.